Hello, I'm Mark Diano.
Hi, I'm Desiree Hadley, and welcome to another episode of Hold the Line with Mayor Baraka. Mayor, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So today we're talking about the school staff vaccinations that happened last week, equitable vaccinations, the national gun violence issue, and if we have time, we'll cover your pick of the NCAA championship. All right.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with the school staff vaccinations. So yourself, along with Superintendent Roger Leong, greeted public school staff last week as they received their first round of COVID-19 vaccines. And my question to you is, should parents see this action as a first step in preparing students this school year to return for in-person learning?
Yes. I think the superintendent has put together a hybrid model, allowing parents to make a decision to send their kids to school or keep them home and still have them participate in that. So I think that's a good idea. It'll be April. You really have 2 months of school left. And then in the summer, whatever the district decides to organize, and I think they're going to do some more summer enrichment, so that'll be good as well.
Mayor, on the equitable vaccination issue, nationwide issue, African Americans are being vaccinated at a much lower rate. Here in Newark, our rate is actually lower than the county, lower than the state. Is this a distribution problem or a supply problem?
I think they both, collide. So we don't have unlimited amounts of vaccines. And so they're almost being rationed off. And that's why they have this schedule of people who are able to get vaccinated first. And they go by that. And as more are being produced, hopefully they make it available. I think they should make it available to anybody who wants to take it now, actually. I think they should do that today. What's been happening in Newark is that we've been vaccinating a lot of people, going by the people who are eligible, but those people are not necessarily Newark residents. So we vaccinate police, we vaccinate fire, we're doing school teachers, we're doing all of those things, and those people are not all 100% Newark residents. So we're helping to vaccinate people throughout the county, but Newark residents are still at a very low level.
That's interesting. So they don't count as Newark vaccinations.
No, they're not Newark residents.
So the cop lives in Clark, he gets a vaccination in Newark, he counts as a Union County.
Sure.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's where he lives.
Yeah.
Just like if you go to the doctor in Newark and you test positive in Newark, your address, they send the positive over there to where you live at, because that's where it affects them.
So no matter how you flip the coin, we come out tails, basically, right?
That's it. And so we have to, because we have to keep track of how many Newark residents have been vaccinated, and that's important. Those people who live in Newark, and which means that we're going to have to be creative about it. We're going to have to do it like we do testing, and I've been saying this over and over again. We're going to have to take it to communities, take it to neighborhoods, and allow people to take it. Allow people to take it. Make it easier for them to register, and give them the permission to take the vaccination.
So you've talked about how people, don't drive, they have a hard time getting to the vaccination sites, and because the vaccination is so volatile itself, it has to be refrigerated and all that stuff. It's hard to have a traveling vaccination show. That puts you in a pretty tough place.
Yeah, but you still have the ability to have refrigeration, to move it to mobile. We have enough technology to be able to do that, to move it. So I don't think that's the issue. I think setting up the actual apparatus and the infrastructure to go to different places and make it happen is where the work is. We just have to do that and do pop-up vaccination sites. We're starting to do it, the county is starting to do it, as well. At churches, the state is doing it. We have to do it more frequently and make the restrictions, lessen the restrictions, so that anybody who shows up can get it. That's what we have to do. It's important for us to do that.
All right. So let's move on to the national gun violence issue that we've we have here in the country. So in the U.S., mass shootings have been an issue for a number of years. Gun violence has affected all races in the country, regardless of socioeconomic class. Just last week, 8 people were killed in 3 different spots in Georgia. Yesterday, 10 people were killed inside of a Colorado grocery store. And according to CNN, the Colorado shooting yesterday was the 7th mass shooting in the United States in just 7 days. So my question to you is, what would be your take on the best way to begin to solve this issue of gun violence in the country?
Well, I think everybody knows what to do. It's just the will, to do it. Obviously, we need to have stronger national gun laws, a kind of uniform gun laws throughout the country that don't differ from state to state, to make it more difficult for people to get automatic weapons, make it difficult and have people register and go through a process to get these kind of guns. I think it's important we do that all over the country. Hell, you can it's more difficult for you to get a license to drive a car than it is for you to, get a license to carry a gun. And I think all of that stuff needs to be worked out on a national level. And the fact that there's different gun laws all over the country, almost makes it like, so Newark is affected by that, New Jersey is affected by that. New Jersey has some of the strongest gun laws in the nation, but Pennsylvania doesn't. So you can go to Pennsylvania and get what you want and make your way to Newark and distribute guns or bring guns to here, and that's the problem.
So, Mayor, going back to the early days of the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition, you were very vocal and leader in pushing the idea that gun violence should be looked at as a national health crisis. So now that you're president of the urban mayors, do you want to rekindle that kind of idea and push that through the urban mayors?
Well, we're already talking about it, so we don't have to rekindle it. That's what's happening. I mean, people are already, it's all over the nation now. People are talking about violence as a public health issue everywhere. There's probably no city, major city in America now that's not talking about violence as public health. I think that message has gotten out and people are at least discussing it. How to treat that and how it looks is what the issues are, so in New Jersey they have hospital intervention programs, hospital violence intervention programs at the hospital. They have opportunities to use the vocal grants or victims of crime act dollars to begin to deal with violence in a community. So it's not cyclical, so it doesn't continue to go on and on and on and on. So people are beginning to do that, and we're talking about it. We just have to actually make the ideas now into material items.
So a couple years ago, the CDC was able to actually study this.
Yes.
After years of being blocked by a congressional decree, right? Is any information coming out of that is helpful to mayors like you to push legislation and agendas?
Well, not in an abundance in a way that we need it to from a national level to say this is to give it some kind of cover, umbrella, to say this is something that we should be moving towards. I do, however, think the message is getting up into the Biden administration because there are folks beginning to lean in the direction of at least funding and supporting organizations that treat violence as public health, that deal with alternative methods to reducing violence and crime in communities, that people are seeing the satisfaction in being able to invest money in that and the results that's coming out of it.
My last question on this goes back to Parkland. After the Parkland shooting, the kids involved in that pushed this idea linking school shootings to urban violence, that, you have to pay attention to both. That didn't last, that coalition didn't last that long. So again, as a mayor of a city that has violence in it, these school shootings, these mass shootings get this national attention, and urban violence as a national issue is way down the ladder, except for the people that are the mayors and the legislators that are trying to deal with it. The public generally doesn't, the news media, I should say, doesn't give it the same kind of,
Of course not.
yeah, okay.
And it is back to who we talking about. Like, when you look at urban violence, you know, you have to look at the audience and the people who you're talking about who look at those things as almost genetic. Like, they don't even look at it as a public health crisis, and that's why it's hard to get into a discussion. It was a monumental task. They believe that these people, that us in this community, that we really bring this upon ourselves, that this stuff is happening, and it's always going to happen. And you know, people make these kind of racist kind of comments that are at the fundamental of it all. And policy is created or not created because of it. When you look at a school shooting, you look at innocent kids in the suburban communities who are being shot by people who are, in their mind, mentally disturbed, right? Never mind the access to automatic weapons, never mind all the other things that they are dealing with and going through that causes them to do that. But that is looked at as a horrific act. And we have a mass, if we go by that, every year in these cities you have mass shootings, right? So there's some cities that have 800, 900 people a year that get murdered in these communities.
Those numbers are staggering. I always said, if 900 people got killed in Syria, we'd send in the Marines, right?
Yeah.
I mean, their numbers are staggering. It must be really frustrating to be someone, in your position, mayors like you, to not see the public care about that.
Yeah, I don't think the public doesn't care. The people here, I don't think the public, I just think the people in power and in charge of, these institutions don't care. They don't think it's an issue, a story.
And the way they report it is
Right.
almost like,
Different.
they don't look at the mental aspect. Maybe it
Right.
is a mental health problem,
They to them it's a behavioral issue. It's an issue that has to do with where people were born and who they are, that you're black and this is what's going to happen. Not that the circumstances and the environment and the lack of access and resources and the cyclical violence itself creates these problems. And so they don't look at it in a scientific way, right? And that's the problem. And at the center of that is racism.
Right. And today the House passed two background checks bills, which will tighten gun sale regulations. From your standpoint, do you think this is the start of the possibility of instituting stricter gun laws
I hope so.
on a national level?
I hope so. And look, how many of these things we're going to have to endure? I mean, this thing is not going away, and it's all these AR-15 rifles that these people have. It seems like that's the gun of choice. Everybody's using these AR-15s, and how are they getting access to AR-15 rifles? They can go to the local gun shop and get it, and walk right out of there with it.
It's true.
Yeah, there's a certain craziness to that, we're probably one of the only countries in the world where those guns can be legally bought. They're illegal in a lot of places, you see them, but it makes absolutely no sense, like that a civilized society should live like this. Well, let's lighten it up for a second, because
Right.
we're down to the last
1
minute. You're watching the basketball tournament?
I mean, when I can, it's just been a crazy time for me. I think it's, so many young people, is wide open. Honestly, I don't think nobody has a dominant kind of opportunity over anybody else. I think at this point is wide open, and I think that makes for great basketball in these tournaments. I just think it's going to be exciting.
You miss coaching?
I'm still coaching. I just don't coach basketball. but coaching
You're just
basketball.
coaching life.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. But basketball, of course you miss that, man. It's immediate gratification, that you get from watching the development of people's skills, seeing it play itself out on the court, and teaching them, how to work together, be a team, deference. All of those things are like extremely important. Yeah.
All right, Mayor, that's all the time we have
Thanks
this
for having me.
episode. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Good talk
Yeah.
again. Thanks.
Thanks everyone for watching.